What should be the most wanted item for FIGC, the so-called Italian Football Association, to tackle? The president, Gabriele Gaffrina, seemed to have provided an answer in a recent statement. Not surprisingly, racial discrimination has been very serious over the decades in Italy. From the earliest case from Aaron Finta and Ruth Gullet to the recent case of the Sampdoria midfielder Vieira, it seems the problem has been everlasting. Even FIFA President Infantino raised the concern over the recent deteriorating situation in Italy, issuing the stadium bans to the teams who are involved in the racism. Gaffrina took a harder stance by proposing the following measures to identify individual soccer fans who practice the discriminatory acts via VAR. Instead of punishing the club due to the minority radical acts, combating the radical and racial discrimination on the pitch would become a national task force challenge. Football clubs campaign about taking the full responsibility to share the burden initiated by the radical minority. The question is whether it is possible to identify all incidents by using the latest technology. We have to note that VAR was not designed to combat the people's misbehavior on the audience stand in the stadium. First of all, should it be done after the match or throughout the match? VAR could identify and observe the potential criminals, but it really interrupts the match order if there are different groups of people chanting and making insulting gestures throughout the 90 minutes. Technically, I am not sure VAR could identify the chants sung by individual soccer fans or even small group of fans, given that the soccer fans cheering every minute in the stadium. Most importantly, VAR could not prevent the fans from throwing bottles, coins, bananas, or other dangerous items to the players on the pitch. The security measures had to be tightened instead. It is a matter of safety and a matter of life and death on the pitch. So employing new technology could only serve to relieve the club responsibilities in handling the cases. We have no control over the so-called rioters in the stadium unless all football clubs ban the ultras and political activists, which is quite impossible from their point of view, even though you may and you could prepare a list beforehand. Public nuisance could also be created from the identification. On the basis of fairness, I think it is theoretically plausible. On the basis of freedom of expression, it seems the checking violates the principle. Of course, it should not be applicable if you misuse the freedom. So how come could the racial discrimination on the pitch occur endlessly in a worsening and downward trend since 2018? We could see Italy has become an epicenter about the issue. Everyone knows about the racial chants and slogans speaking against the black, or I think both from Africa and South America players, and even the intolerant displays of anti-Semitism by the Lazio ultras. We should have been shocked by the fact that discrimination is still a hotbed across different continents in 2019. Isn't it only a product of slavery back to the 19th century and fascism and Nazism back to the earlier 20th century? So we have to recognize the root cause of the racial discrimination across the Europe. Yes, we are not talking about Italy, but the whole Europe. This issue is much more complex and complicated than we conceive. The problem is not only on Italian, but also across Europe and other sides of the world. But we have to make a note that don't leave it solely to the ideological discrepancy, the so-called the rise of far-right populism. This is only one of the factors. The bigger picture is, let me put it into the social context. The continued hostile attitude towards asylum seekers, migrants, and refugees shape the atmosphere of racial issues. The local residents felt themselves having less access to education, employment opportunities, housing estates, and other social services. We are not talking about the political agenda and immigration policy. It is about the origin of the background, race, color of the black persons. They have been victimized due to their existence in the society. They are still the minority, the mostly unwelcome groups across Europe, including Germany, which is ruled by the liberal conservative government. Social inclusion of Turkish and German, for example, has not been overly successful. Germans may still stand against the Turks at the bottom of their heart and undermine the existence of millions of them in the country. The EU Parliament members are mostly white. Even the highest political office could not tolerate having non-white highest official in their administration. One could conclude that the core underlying cause to the discrimination comes from the post-colonialism mindset. The so-called Afro-European should be less superior and treated unequally in terms of resources allocation and social status, because somehow the white conceives them to be ethically outcast, primitive, and social parasites in the country still dominated by the local ethics. Adding anti-Semitism and Islamic phobia to the issues only aggravate the racial hatred. The racial discrimination in soccer or sports is therefore always correlated to the culture and socio-historical background. Don't tell me that the problem could be eradicated by means of heavy punishment and by employing the latest technology. Education or indoctrination is the only and ultimate key to break down the wall. How could we educate the soccer fans to respect the player on the pitch? Could it be done by solely saying the slogan like "Say no to racism" in a campaign to eliminate racism, discrimination, intolerance from football? If this head-scratching problem could be solved by just saying a slogan or by composing a song, it could have been done 20 or 30 years ago. So, tackling the racial discrimination should be the task to the governments and educators, but not coming from the presidents and officials of the football associations. Guys, we are talking about eradicating the discrimination. If anywhere, identifying a single incident is only helpful to a lesser extent.